Hey, this is David with Crash Gardening. Today we're going to take a look at a highly efficient cook stove. This is for emergencies or off-grid. You can even put it inside of a cabin. This is a SilverFire Hunter. It's what's called a top-lit UpDraft stove, TLUD. It makes a very efficient use of whatever fuel you put in it. You can cook quite a bit. You can basically run it for an hour once you pack it and light it, and it stays hot. So let's put this thing together and see how it works. Alright, so to put this together, obviously we just pop these 4 stovepipe pieces on top, put the little joint in the back. There's really nothing to it. It's very simple to carry, and all of these pieces fit inside. And speaking of inside, let's take a look inside of there. As you can see, there are vents that run along the sides, and there are little holes. There's multiple rings of holes there. What it actually is doing is it's creating an afterburn type of effect where the air is circulating down through and over again, and it's actually drawing out. So when you put a pan or something on top of this, you have very little smoke or anything coming out of the top, and it's a super efficient use of the fuel that you put inside of it, and it's directing the smoke up and out the pipe. So the circulation of air is very important to this design, and unlike a straight rocket stove where you have just one piece coming in the side and then it's getting directed up, you actually have a real true circulation of air inside that chamber. Down here, this is the vent. I like to call it the choke because it reminds me of a carburetor. But basically, you let more airflow through your fire that way and less that way, or none. So I'm going to open this thing up and light this from the top. You don't want to stack your wood too high in here because the circulation is important. You have to make sure that there's airflow going through it. The fuel that I'm using here is the stems of a giant perennial sunflower, Tithonia diversifolia, and it's my favorite rocket stove fuel. At this time of year, in the fall, when it's getting cool, these things freeze down to the ground, so I can cut all the stems, put them on my back porch, let them dry, and they're real easy to feed in as fuel. They burn really fast in a regular fire, but in a rocket stove, they're just enough. Good. Alright, now that we have a fire lit, we have to do the obligatory demonstration where we fry some eggs. The SilverFire stove is a well-built stove. It's made out of stainless, and it will burn down the fuel that's inside of here all the way until it's feathery ashes. When you dump this thing out, you're not even getting little bits of charcoal, you're just getting ash. It has a wonderful ability to consume every bit of energy out of that wood and direct it up to what you're cooking. You also probably noticed that when I put the pan on there earlier, the smoke quits coming out of the top of this, and in fact the smoke is directed out of the pipe, and it starts drawing much more efficiently. If you were to leave this uncovered, you're going to get some smoke in your house or your cabin or whatever else, but as soon as you put a pan on there, it's gone. It just vents right through, it sucks it up and puts it up there. Another thing is when you're lighting this stove, because it's a top lit updraft, you're going to want to blow down through there. That's your natural inclination, but if you start blowing down through the top, it generally tends to go out. What you actually want to do is blow in through the vent if you really feel the need to add some extra air to that fire. The vent down on the bottom, because it circulates that air through there, and that's how it burns. If you blow down from the top, you push the air back down there and it fills up with all the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, or whatever else, and as soon as you stop blowing, the air circulates back up through the vent and it puts your new fire out. They're somewhat expensive, but they are really well built and they're excellent for any kind of travel. They pack up pretty neatly and can be carried. It's not as easy as carrying a little alcohol stove or something like that if you were going with light camping, but for a cabin or carrying it away for a weekend, it's fantastic. Excellent stove, and this thing will stay hot for over an hour once you load it up and just keep cooking and keep cooking and keep cooking. So, SilverFire Hunter, worth checking out. I'm David Goodman. This is Crash Gardening.